think that every minute of every day is going to be laid out for you to just explore your skills or your thoughts or your expression, I think you're in for a rough ride.
Art is a roller coaster. And one minute you got all the projects in the world, and next minute you're like, okay, no one's collecting, no one's buying, no one's doing anything right now, what do I do?
When we first started I started in the late 70s, early 80s. I mean, the inflation, we'll never make any money, it went on and on and on. Well, we lived through that, and we made it, and we became artists, and we are still artists. So it's just persistence, I think. It's just persistence.
Perseverance, yeah.
You have to. You just have to keep going.
So yeah, there's the 9 to 5, and then, you go home, you eat dinner, and I'm in 3 projects right now, so it takes up every single day of the week.
Yeah.
And then you come here and go to bed at midnight, and wake up at 8 a.m. and
do it again.
I mean, I think it's a time in the global consciousness where there are those of us who feel like we have to answer some of the ugliness that's happening in the world. We have to answer it with beauty, and we have to answer it with compassion and focused activism. And I can't tell you why it happens here in Toledo in art, but that's just what is happening. I don't know why, I just know that it is happening.
For me, arts and culture is one avenue of potential solutions to a host of issues or problems or injustices.
Arts and culture are, one, they're inherent. We sort of think of them as destinations or things that we can get to or build on, but art is really just an inherent part of being a human. We all create, and this goes back to, as far as you want, from the invention of cave paintings to dancing, right? Like, how did people figure out to move their body like that, and why? Because it's who we are. There's an inherent need in us to express what it feels like to be alive.
When you look back throughout the ages of man, I mean, what do you look at? You look at their art. It signifies who they were, the written word, the visual aspects. It explains who the culture is and what they valued.
Regardless of how much you fix the street, if the neighborhood needs to become a community, art can do that.
I mean, if you build buildings, then that's great. You pave roads, that's great. But if people don't have an opportunity to connect to each other, then there's no culture, then there's no higher quality of life, then there's no real purpose in it. You can't do art alone. When there's a performance, there's an audience. When there's an exhibition, there is a community there to see that exhibition. And through activating all of these little segments, what we're doing is activating our community, creating our identity again, and frankly, teaching our people how to use cities again. If you want people to come back to this community and build their economic futures here, the arts are what they want to experience. It's, it will feed itself and it'll feed the community.
I can call up any number of my friends or coworkers or just people I've collaborated with on projects, and everybody's always willing and able to talk out, my next idea or just talk things out in general about the community. And I think there's a lot of positivity, in the area that we're in.
number one, of course, you can afford here a very large studio because the price per square foot is basically 1 to 10 to New York City. Then the people here, are extremely dedicated in terms of working. There's less distraction in a city like Bowling Green than in New York. It's a small but very tight community that's very supportive. It's not, of course, you compete. There's no. You always compete about, for clients or for funds or for grants even. But at the end, you're in the same field. You're still on the same team. You're on the team art.
What I love is this new maker economy. I do believe that we have a future as a maker economy here in Toledo. I think we just need to sort of reimagine that for today's economy.
It's very inspiring for people when they come in here. They want to go home and make stuff, or they want to learn how to make candles, or they want to take a screen printing class. They want to figure out how to make soap. We know most of the vendors in here. We know most of the artists, so we can tell you, yeah, this was made in the South End, or this lady has a studio in the Beaux-Arts building, or this person is in the Secor studio, and they get really excited about, and I think it's really a cool thing where people know, they learn more about the person that is making the thing, knowing where it's coming from, knowing that they can buy it, and buying it supports a local business and also a local artist.
I feel like the dreamers that were here when I was 10 years ago are in positions to actually implement those dreams, where we've been, you talk about folks like Mark Folk at the Arts Commission who were maybe just a degree or two outside of a position to be able to implement real change, are now in those positions. Myself, being able to be second in command of this library system that has a tremendous impact on our community.
The arts bring a vibrancy, and you look around traveling in other cities, the cities that are really exciting and do well all have a wonderful arts program.
That's how you know you're in a place, right? Like you could be anywhere, but when you get a visual sense of what the people there are doing, when you get an oral sense of that, when you hear the music, when you see the dancing, when you see people interacting, or the way that they're building a city, that's how you know that you're in that place.
In this particular city, compared to any place that I've lived, it's just full of nascent capacity. I mean, if we're just prepared to look and see what we have, it's fabulous, but it can do more. So it's to this point that the bricks are great, but not a single thing does anything unless people bring that creativity and that experience and that drive and that enthusiasm and spirit to it.
I think that that's an important thing for the future of Toledo, is to recognize who's doing what. Some things are very, very organized and very polished and have a long history and a legacy in Toledo. And there are some amazing things that are one-off, pop-up, have never been done before. And so I think that an audience that appreciates the arts in that way and recognizes there are a lot of people doing a lot of really fascinating, interesting things that they're passionate about, and makes space for that. I think the whole city and everybody who would either visit or live here would benefit from that and experiencing that.
I think it'd be exciting if I were like someone who didn't play music and I was into music and I lived in Toledo, that I could buy like a tangible like ticket, and go to this show and listen to these bands that are so excited and passionate to play their music for people. I just don't know like what's stopping people, you know?
I think the people that are really passionate about original, non-mainstream music they're really passionate about it, and it's great, but I do think they're fewer.
Simply put, it's hard to get people to come out to shows.
We're not really well connected regionally as an art scene, so I think it's hard for folks to get out of Toledo. You know, if you're in a band, to get shows maybe in Detroit or Columbus, or if you're a painter, to get access to exhibitions and that kind of thing.
Toledo is a really good place to like test some stuff out, but I wouldn't say it's the place where it can like live. You can make it here, like make the work here, you know, but you gotta sell that somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? It's too small. You know everybody. They've bought 5 paintings, you know, and you're like, hey, come to my show again. You know, like I have no more wall space. Someone's told me that.
Of course, you can make it in Toledo, there's absolutely no question, but the pool of people who buy art in general is small in a city. It depends on the size of the city, basically.
You may argue that the audience isn't as big, you know, compared to a larger city, but I also think that is exciting because you might be in on the ground floor of something that can grow really large.
There's a class of people, or there's a group of people who say Toledo got a dark cloud, or Toledo has something about it that's draining them, you know what I mean? Drains their energy. But those are the people who aren't looking up a little bit.
You gotta go to where it's more dense. You know, just kind of reach out, step out. And that's natural, you gotta do that anyway. What I realized is that Toledo is the place where you make and work things out. And then
there's times we're not even doing, like right now we're building all the stuff for Stranahan. I mean, it's standard fabrication stuff, but you know, it's jobs we gotta take on to make things work, you know, and keep things moving forward so we can do the art stuff.
In my experience as a musician too, I'll say this. So when starting out, I was just, you know, I'm 21 or whatever, and I'm just like, I'm only gonna do originals. You feel passionate about that. And then you get a little older, and then you play a cover out, and you see the reaction of people that are suddenly not on their phones, or you know, they're looking, they're cheering,
They're
even
dancing,
just cheering,
yeah.
or being just interactive with you. It's an amazing feeling that is why people do what they do, why they work so hard and are driven. And so it was almost addicting when we started to play covers out because of the reaction, and I don't know, I love that.
It could be, I think it could be possible, I don't know, maybe not in painting only. Like, cause I have the benefit of being able to do like digital design and that kind of stuff too. So I could see doing both, but to just do solely painting and make a living on it, I think that would be pretty tough unless you were going out of state, out of town all the time to do those kind of jobs too.
You can, you know, more or less exist by keeping a very low overhead. You could just, you know, make more or less a living to cater to a local community. But as soon as you do bigger work, you know, there's only so much big work that you can sell in this community here. But then you have to reach out to different, you know, like states, countries, continents.
The nice thing about being in the city of Toledo is it's centralized to all the major cities, like Cleveland, Detroit, Columbus, Chicago, Indianapolis. If I don't have work here, I have work in other major cities around me to help supplement the work that that's slowing down here.
I don't know of many cities where artists go and just sell their artwork in that one city and have a healthy, vibrant, rewarding career. Many artists are represented 2, 3, 4 galleries around the country, and I think that's something that we need to help our local creative population understand and facilitate where possible is access to other markets.
I think that there is a bit of a syndrome here where we leave a thing go, thinking that somebody's gonna do something with it someday. And when a person or a company or a huge corporation comes and does something with it, we all say, wait, I was gonna do something with that.
If you don't love this area, that's okay. There are plenty of people that would love to move here. Hopefully, I think, in the near future, plenty of people that would love to move here and set up shop and do important, cool work.
But the beautiful thing about Toledo is that you can make it here. It's inexpensive to make the work here, and you got all kind of resources and support.
People are just dying to live downtown. And I can remember a time when no one wanted to live there. They only wanted to come down there and shop and then move out. I don't know where it came from, but I think it's wonderful.
I think it's probably that thing about when one person starts dancing. There has to be the second person to start dancing before the masses come and start jamming out. I think that this first wave is the artists.
Art just improves the quality of life. When you ride around this city and you see artwork, it connects you where it's supposed to connect you. There's people who come from out of town and they I adore it here. The small place here with this big heart, I adore it.
Art is a process. It's not just the painting or the piece or whatever it's going to be. So I feel like when someone's saying that, they're just seeing, why are you putting just that piece up when fixing the road? They're kind of missing the whole journey of what that piece does. And the point is, once that piece is up, it's not done.
It becomes something that that mostly elates people, that people just like because it's very sensual, just because it overwhelms the body in a very positive way. And it kind of restores a certain sense of wonder that people obviously have lost very often. It's the same way, we see the fall foliage of, the yellow golden leaves, and nobody knows why we smile. We just smile when we see it.
I came here because I married my husband, and I lived in Ann Arbor. At that time, I didn't want to come to Toledo at all, and once I got here, I fell in love with it. Why? Because of the arts.
I know artists who are thinking every day, how can I turn this into my livelihood? And the ones that work hard, I feel generally reap that reward. And the ones that stop themselves short and say, oh, there's no buying public in Toledo, or nobody's gonna want this, or I'm too fringe, I'm too out there, I don't think they're gonna get up and over it,
a while back from a friend of mine who introduced me into the fine art world. He said, Dane, I can lead you to whatever you need, but you got to make it your own. You can call in all the favors you want, but in the end, it's like the artists themselves have to own it and make it happen.